3 months ago, my doctors discussed survivability rates with me in statistics, and one number stayed in my head: 10 more Christmases, 10 more summers, grandchildren who will be teenagers when the math runs out. You take turns carrying the hope. I want to talk to you about a question that's been living in my head for the past 3 months. If someone told you with reasonable medical certainty that you had approximately 10 years left to live, what would you do with that information? I'm not asking hypothetically. 3 months ago, my doctors discussed survivability rates with me in statistics, and one number stayed in my head: 10 years. Based on the type of cancer I have, a Gleason 9, grade group 5, with surgical pathology confirming that the cancer was not fully removed, the survivability window that my medical team gave me is approximately 10 years. Now, I want to be clear about something before I go any further. That number is a starting point, not a sentence, not a verdict. Treatment hasn't fully begun yet. Radiation is coming, ADT hormone therapy is coming, and I intend to be one of those people who beats the odds. But I'm not going to pretend I didn't hear what my doctor said. I heard it, Sue heard it, and it changed the way we ask the question we've been asking since before all of this began. Can we still live this RV dream that we had after cancer? You see, for years, Sue and I had dreamed of a 45-foot Class A motorhome, open roads, full-time travel across this country, and that question, can we still live that dream? That's what this video is about. I should tell you where the dream actually stands because some of you may be surprised. We never purchased an actual motorhome. The dream was fully in the planning stage, researched, budgeted, mapped out in detail with models picked out. We had a timeline. And then January came and the phone rang. Where are we now on the dream today? Some weeks we talk about it like cancer is a detour, not a destination. Other weeks, the weight of what we're facing makes it feel very distant, not gone, but far away. I promised you honesty when I started this channel, and right now that's the honest answer. And here's the part I keep thinking about. We were planning to dream of our lives, and cancer arrived before we ever got to live it, which somehow makes this question matter even more. I want to talk to you about the numbers my doctor gave me, because it deserves more than a passing mention, and because if I soften or rush past it towards something more comfortable, I will have broken the promise I made in my first video. So here it is. Based on my diagnosis of aggressive prostate cancer with positive surgical margins confirming the cancer was not fully removed, the statistics associated with my diagnosis included a survivability estimate of about 10 years. Also, it has a 70% probability of recurrence. Now, before I go any further, I need to say something clearly. I am not sharing this number to be dramatic. I'm not sharing it because every decision we've made since January has been made knowing it. And if you're going to understand why we're still planning this dream, you need to know what we're planning it against. I want to tell you what it was like to hear that. It wasn't dramatic. There was no cinematic breakdown. It was just a number sitting in the air between me and the doctor, waiting for me to decide what to do with it. I wrote it down because that's kind of what I do. I'm a planner. I deal in data, and this was more data. But the data had a way of becoming real when you drive home and sit in the driveway and think. 10 years, 10 more Christmases, 10 more summers, grandchildren who will be teenagers when the math runs out. I sat with all of that. I let it be as heavy as it actually was. And then I did something that even surprised me. I opened up my laptop and I started looking at motorhomes again. Not because I was in denial, because something in me refused to let that number be the last word. Someday is done. Someday just become today. So here's where things stand medically. My post-surgical PSA test is coming up shortly. That number will tell my team what we're dealing with. Whatever it says, we move on from there. What we already know is that additional treatment is coming. Radiation, ADT therapy, designed to reduce the testosterone that fuels the prostate cancer growth, and obviously continuous surveillance for the rest of forever. Every 3 months, wash, rinse, repeat. ADT and radiation carry real side effects, and I'll cover those in detail as we get there. I say all of this because the commitment to honesty I made on this channel doesn't get suspended when the information gets uncomfortable. I'm not a statistic. I'm Mike Jones. I have a wife who doesn't hesitate. I have a daughter who shows up immediately. And I have grandchildren that I want to watch grow up. That is not nothing. That is everything. You know, Sue and I have talked about this question more than any other since January. Can we still live this dream? We don't answer it the same way every time. Someday she's the one reminding me of what we're going to be doing, that this is a detour, not a destination. On those days, she is steadier than I am. On other days, I'm the one holding it, keeping the routes on my phone, talking about national parks and the open roads like it's still inevitable, because on those days, she needs me to hold it for both of us. That's what 30 years looks like in a season like this. You take turns carrying the hope. You don't both put it down at the same time. What we have agreed on, clearly and without reservation, is this. We are not waiting for the cancer to be resolved before we start living. We are living now. Differently than we planned? Yes. More carefully than we imagined? Sure. But now. So here's what we actually decided. Not what sounds good, what we actually decided. The dream gets modified, not canceled, just modified. Full-time living requires a logistical freedom that timelines and oncology appointments make complicated. You can't be 3,000 miles away from your medical team when you're in active treatment or continuous surveillance, for that matter. So the timeline shifts. Extended trips rather than full-time living to start. Routes built around the country's most extraordinary landscapes with the flexibility to return when medicine requires it. A home base as a medical anchor, while the motorhome becomes the vehicle for everything that makes life feel like living. You know, the Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, the Sierra Nevadas, every place we spent 30 years saying someday. Someday just has a different shape now. And honestly, I think that shape might be more beautiful than the original, because we are done assuming there will always be more time. And that, it turns out, is a much better way to travel. So let me answer the question that I started with. Can we still live this dream after cancer? Here is my honest answer as of today. I don't know if we will live it the way we originally planned. I don't know what the PSA results will show or what the treatment path will require. What I know is that we are going to try, not with reckless optimism or ignorance that ignores what we're facing, not with performed positivity or pretends the diagnosis isn't real and serious and life altering, because it is, but with the specific kind of determination that comes from having heard a number, 10 years, and deciding that every single one of those years is going to actually mean something. We are going to get the motorhome. We are going to see the Grand Canyon. We're going to drive through Yellowstone. In the fall, when the elk are running and the air smells almost unreal, we are going to watch glaciers in Alaska because that promise is still standing. That's the answer. We are still living this dream. We're just living it with our eyes wider open now than ever planned before. If I'm being completely honest with you, this part is for someone specific. If you're watching this because you've been handed a number you didn't ask for, a timeline, a probability, a statistical window that someone else decided describes your future, I want to say something to you directly. That number is information, it's not instruction. It tells you something about the odds. It does not tell you anything about you specifically. It does not know your will, does not know your support system. It does not know the dream you've been carrying for 30 years. Statistics describe populations. They do not define individuals. You are allowed to hear that number and then decide what you're going to do anyway. You're allowed to grieve it, and you should, properly and fully, and then put something back on the calendar. You're allowed to modify the dream without abandoning it. You're allowed to live now rather than wait for later. That may never arrive. None of us get guarantees. We never did. Cancer just makes that truth harder to look away from. Look at it anyway, and then go plan that trip. The next video I'm going to introduce to you someone that you've heard about on every video I've made, but who has never had the chance to speak for herself. My wife, Sue. Over the next 2 videos, Sue is going to tell you her side of the story. Where she was when she heard the news, what it looked like to be the person standing next to someone with a Gleason 9 diagnosis, the parts of this journey that only a caregiver actually sees. For every caregiver watching who has ever been asked how they're doing, this video will be for you. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Leave a comment below. Tell me what your dream is. The one you're still holding on to. The one you're not ready to put down. I truly want to know. My name is Mike Jones. This is Jonesing for the Journey. And so, the adventure continues.